Back in episode 191, we were talking with garden author Robert Couric. His latest book, a 436-page masterpiece called Sustainable Food Gardens. In that book, he has great information for you about how you can avoid back-breaking tillage, how you can work with clay soils, improve your yields, maybe fix that ugly garden, dealing with drought, dealing with pests, dealing with low fertility, dealing with tedious watering, and, of course, dealing with weeds. Well, the dealing with pests part was very interesting. This is what he had to say. One of your other golden rules for edible landscaping is work with nature. Let nature work with you. We were talking to a famous master rosarian just a few days ago, and he noticed that he was about to leave for a trip back east, and he noticed all these aphids on his rose buds. And he looked at them, and he looked around, and he saw a lady beetle and a soldier beetle, and he says, I'll just leave them. I'll come back. They'll be gone. And sure enough, he came back 2 weeks later. There wasn't an aphid to be found.
Yeah, like with me, most years, my fava beans get black aphids early in the season, and I just let them go. And then all of a sudden the ladybugs show up, and then it gets a little bit warmer and the beneficial wasps show up. And most years it takes care of the situation.
One of the keys for attracting beneficial insects, of course, is to put in those plants that attract the beneficials. And they're not necessarily plants that get infested with bad bugs. They're plants that the beneficials need as housing and also as another source of food.
Yeah, habitat. One of the big myths for organic gardeners and permaculture people is they think that those beneficial insect plants have to be planted right amongst the vegetables or right below the fruit trees. And I find that that's not necessary. So in my book, I have quite a bit of scientific data showing that some of the beneficial insects can travel 50 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet, and still be effective. So that means your beneficial insect plants can be at the border of your garden and still have a beneficial effect on your pests. They don't need to be totally mixed and jumbled away. So like I tend to try to put my beneficial insect plants in the cut flower garden. So a client would want a cut flower garden, and they don't even know I put plants in there that help bring in the beneficial insects. They're just happy to have the cut flowers.
Another trick to attract the beneficials, the beneficial insects, when they're flying around, they're sort of like drivers on the 101 or I-5 here in California, and you see these big billboards advertising something. If you plant your crops, your flowers that attract the beneficials en masse, say in a 3x3 foot square, they can see that from a long ways away, and they'll aim right for it.
Yeah, you got it. Now the list of beneficial attractants is pretty long, and sometimes it includes cultivated plants that are used for food. So, like with coriander, you can eat the cilantro in the beginning of the season, and if you let some plants go, you get coriander. The flowers are very good at attracting beneficial insects, and if you let them go further, you get coriander seed.
Exactly, and that's true with both cool season crops and warm season crops. Think of all your cool season crops like broccoli, cauliflower, bok choy, and they tend to bolt. They tend to flower this time of year. And if you still have the room, let them flower because they will attract the beneficials.
Yes, you don't have to kill everything off or eat everything.
You know, we should point out that at your website, robertcouric.com, you can find a connection to that list of plants that attract beneficial insects.
Yes, I have 141 plants that are known to attract beneficial insects based on science, and I list the citations in the paperwork you get along with the spreadsheet. And in the spreadsheet, I show the bloom period, because it's very easy to find beneficial insect plants that bloom in June, July. Trick is to getting a beneficial insect plant that blooms in March or April, or September, October, or in California, even into November. So when you look down the column on October, you'll see where a bar crosses the spreadsheet. That's a plant that blooms in October. So you can use the insectary chart to pick out the best plants and to pick them out based on when they bloom.
And what you have is a sample of that at your website. It looks like I would want to plant sweet alyssum because it can bloom 12 months a year here in California.
Yeah, and it's one of the most studied plants for beneficial insects. I think there's 7 or 8 citations just for alyssum alone.
Correct. And now there are more and more farmers in California that are ringing their fields with alyssum to bring in the beneficials to help cut their pesticide costs.
Yeah, they're either using strips within the field or borders around the edge of the field. And that all depends upon how far apart you put them so that they migrate effectively into the crop area.
And again, you can find all this at Robert's website, robertcouric.com, Kourik, robertcouric.com, and a list of all his books and publications, including that insectary plant list. That again was Robert Couric, author of the book Sustainable Food Gardens. And here in the Beyond the Basics, Garden Basics with Farmer Fred newsletter, we're taking a look at some of those plants that attract beneficial insects. So go ahead and read part 2 of the plants that attract beneficial insects, and also study those pictures of what those beneficial insects look like in their various life stages.